Hello guys and welcome to Paint with Mark. I thought this week we'd paint a lovely barn scene with really dramatic dark skies. I'm going to put a picture up there now for you so you should see it now. Lovely. And what I've done is I've just basically sketched out on my canvas here very roughly with just a pencil a sort of barn sort of shape. Nothing too elaborate, pretty simple. We'll probably go over most of it anyway. But I just sort of put it on there, and so we know that not to put the sky over it. So it's a lovely, beautiful picture. I'm probably going to do this in two parts. So we'll probably do all the sky, and lay that out first, and then go on to the barn and the cable. Now, I've had a few questions about wet and so on. So I have prepared this with a little bit of liquid white on there, so it's all nice and wet and slippery and ready to go. I'm going to put all the paints that we use, the colours that we're going to use, down below in the description, and the brushes that we use. Obviously I will sign them as we go along, alright? And obviously if you've got any questions, just comment below. While I'm there, if you'd like to subscribe, hit the bell button and then you'll be notified of all the other videos I do. So with that said, let's get started guys. Have fun, grab your tools and let's get going. So the first colour that we're going to do, I'm going to get my little bit of thinners. I've got a little pot of thinners here. I'm going to dip the brush, just a little tiny bit of thinners in the corner of the brush, and I'm going to go up to some Prussian blue. And Prussian blue is a really strong colour, so I'm going to go into some Prussian blue and a little bit of black, a little bit of Prussian blue. And then I'm also going to pull out a little bit of white. Stick a bit of white in there, just to sort of tone it down a little bit. It's a sort of very sort of light colour, a bit more white. And again, I'll just put the corner of the brush just into a little bit of thinners. Small bit of blue in there. Okay, so I'm going to come up to the canvas and I'm just going to go across. Now obviously I know in the picture it's a lot lighter, but we're going to put more light on afterwards, so we don't need to panic too much. But we're just going to get this in there first, get this lovely blue right across. I'll put it on, sometimes I do swirly movements like so, or just across. The main thing is we just want to get it on there. I'm just going to get it on, and literally I'm going to come right down to sort of this area here, right down to about here. So all I want to do is this is a pretty boring bit, but I'm just going to backwards and forwards go back into my colour and just keep loading it up. And again, I may do swirly movements like this, but basically just crisscross strokes as usual guys. For those of you left-handed, use left-handed. Only joking. So a little bit of thinners, pick up a bit of blue, a bit of white, and just come down here. I'm going to fade it down here, go around my little cabin. Again, I'm not too worried at the moment about that. Main thing is I just want to get this colour on here. And it's nice and slippery and slick and ready to go, because we've got the background on this. So long hand down here, I'm just going to take it to about there. Just go around the outline. Again, I'm not too bothered and fussed what it looks like. Just mainly want to get, I mean, you could use a bigger brush obviously. I'm just using this small brush just to show you that you can use a little tiny brush to put it on. It doesn't matter really. A roller will probably do it, stick a roller on there guys. But so I'm just picking up like a little bit of blue, maybe a little bit dark. Again, it doesn't matter at this stage. It doesn't matter. again, just keep adding a little bit of thinner at a time. I like to get this on. The reason I'm doing that is because a thick paint will stick to a thin paint. So if I use a thin paint, which is a little bit thin, this is going to make this nice and thin, and so when I stick clouds on the top, it will stick to it nicely. So that's the main reason. So I'm backwards and forwards like this, just sort of get the basic shape. And then what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to go and get a blender brush. This is like a sort of makeup-y type brush, mop brush, and very lightly I'm just going to go backwards and forwards. I'm just going to blend this very lightly, doing sort of crisscross strokes, backwards and forwards, just to get rid of the harsh lines that we've created. So backwards and forwards. If you pick up any hairs, just take it off a bit of tissue paper, squeeze tissue in a bit of tissue paper. Backwards and forwards, little crisscross strokes. So that sort of basically gets the first layer of colour on there. Now obviously there's some strong colours, some really bright and darks and so on. So what I'm going to do up here, we've got some nice bright areas. So all I'm going to do is just going to get my brush again, and I'm just going to get a little bit of tissue and just squeeze this between the tissue, and then I'm actually going to, a little bit of thinners again, just a very small amount. I'm going to come into some white, and up in this corner is, I'm going to use this brush. I won't, I'll use a smaller brush, just a smaller flat brush, same thing. Just go up here. I'm just going to do little swirly movements. So from up this corner, I'm just going to literally just swirl this round, bring this down. And I've got a little reference picture over on my side to the left hand side. If you see me keep looking over that way, it's because my little picture's over there. So I'm just swirling around, literally going to just a bit more white, bring it down more. That's lovely, look at that colour. Just swirl this about one way and the other way, and it's going to mix in with the blue and all blend in nicely. Put some more down here. Again, I'm not going to be able to replicate the picture exactly, and you don't want to, because you want it to be your own style and own picture. I'm just going to get hopefully some sort of similar shape and form what's happening here. So I'm just dabbing on colour, literally guys. I'm literally just doing little circular movements, and I'll just put some white up here. There's a lot of white around this area, a lot of light area along the top, a few little bits of dustings. Literally I'm just little swirls, just want to get a little bit of dusting of white up in the top there. I'll go into some more white, and there's a bit here, there's a bit there, and as it comes down there's a lot more dramatic white that sort of comes down here. So I'm just going to put this bit in, because this joins up to this bit, and it just progressively gets bigger as it comes down. I'm just doing bigger swirls. I'm leaving little gaps in between as I'm doing the swirls. So I'm just sort of swirling this about, and then I'm going to add some more in a moment. I just sort of get the basic of what's occurring. Some more over here, some lighter ones there, but we'll add some more colour to these ones in a minute, because they're slightly different colours. But we just swirl this around a little bit there. So once we get to that stage, I should put my brush down. I'll go back to my mop, and very lightly I'm just tapping, very softly I'm just tapping, just pushing this colour back, okay, slightly. Again, this is just to take out the harsh, get rid of that here, the harsh lines. Little swirl movements. You can create a really dramatic, effective sky. And we've hardly done any work, guys, have we? We've hardly done any work at all. Now this is pretty simple stuff. Just tap in, little swirly movements. Anything you don't like, you can just move on the brush. Okay, so I think that'll be, now that's the start. We've got a few more layers of to go. Again, always wipe the brush afterwards. So we want some really darks, we want this really to pop out. So I'm going to use a small brush again that we had the white on. I'm just going to squeeze it between a bit of tissue, and I'm going to go up to the blue, the Prussian blue. I'm just going to go and just sort of knead into this Prussian blue and come straight up here because there's some darks up here. I'm just going to do some more swirls. A little tiny bit of it might mix up. I'm only going down into the areas where I haven't got the white, so I'm just spinning this round and down. I'm just touching the white areas. Again, I'm just swirling this about. A little bit dark there, dramatic there, and then I'm going to come back into the colour. And again, this is dry now on this brush. Okay, so I'm just going to swirl a little bit in there. Maybe coming across a little bit. Okay, go back into some more. And again, I'm just literally just building this up now. So there's a nice bit of dark in here. It comes along the dark area here, and then fades out. Like so. Just fade this to the side. I'll put some probably hills in there, maybe like that. And then I go into some more dark. Again, this is, the dark really makes it sort of stand out, dramatic, and the different layers that we're putting on creates the depth. And then we've got some bits and pieces around the top here. I'm just going to add these little bits in here. Just tiny bits around the top. And again, I'm going to blend this again in a second, so I'm not too worried about. I just want to put a little bit of sort of colour in there in betweens. And then up here and up here, it's really dark and dramatic, even darker. I'm just going to put some of this, a little bit of the blue down here on the top of the hills. Run it back up. Again, I'm just swirling back one way and the other way. And I hope you're all safe and well, guys, with this lockdown. I'm not too bored, and I hope these videos help you and encourage you and inspire you to have a little go at painting yourself. Gives you something to do, a little bit of practice. Okay, so we're going to come up to this part here, and we're going to add just a little touch of thinner. Go back into the blue, and then I'll pull down some of this black and mix this with it. It's a very strong, dark colour in this area here. And again, I'm just going to swirl one way, the other way, one way and the other way, one way and the other way, and I'll get a bit more blue in with that because it's more of a bluey. And I'm just scrubbing this round and round, taking it into the other colours and down, around, and again it will pick up some of the other colour. It's what we want, because we want it to be different shades and different tones of colour, because that will all obviously add to the overall effect of what we're looking at. So take this down here, up into there, add that down. I'm going to get a bit more of the blue, a bit more blue in there, perhaps just a touch of white in places, just to change the tone here and there around the edges. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. And again, I'm going to come use the same colour, this dark, and I'm going to come to this side and just scrub some of this dark in, because it's really dark here in this picture. Coming down, and obviously I didn't apologise at the start of the video. You may hear some dogs barking and some kids in the gardens. It's our neighbours with the kids are at home and everything, so I apologise if you do hear some of those noises. But sometimes it's lovely to hear the kids playing in the gardens. So now I've just sort of layered on the colour. I'm going to go back to my mop and start from this side, and again I'm just very softly doing some swirling movements just to take out the harsh edges. Okay, that's the main thing. I'll do these light ones first. Just want to take out this harshness, just so it sort of blends in. They all sort of blend in nicely together. So it's all nice, you know, as if the clouds are all sort of going in and out of each other. Get rid of some hairs. I'll come down. I'll do the light ones first. I like to do the light ones first. We'll go to the dark and clean the brush. Wipe the brush again, and then I'm going to come up to this one here. And again, I'm just swirling upwards. I'm just swirling upwards, guys. Just swirling upwards. Just to take this harshness from it all. Wipe the brush, so it blends in nicely. So you've got all these different layers where one starts and the other stops, and you can't see, because I want it to be lots of different colours, just a lot of different tonal values really. So again, you can move the colour using this on the actual canvas itself just by dabbing it from one place to the other. So a bit harsh up there. So it gives us a nice dark in that area there and dark in that area there. Yeah, I think that'd be done nicely. I'm happy with that. I think I might just in a couple of spots, just a little touch. I think I might add a little bit of white there. There's some sort of like down here, there's a few others, so I might just add just a little bit more white. Again, tiny amounts. So I'm going to get my brush, just a little bit of white. I'm just going to here spin it around one way, the other way, one way and the other way. Just want to get a little bit of colour on there, and there's a little bit of lighter area here. I just want to brighten this up here. So again, I'm just spinning this colouring, guys, and it's not difficult, just spinning this around, and then I'm going to also use the blender to go back with it and blend that in. And around here there's little tiny clouds that I'm putting over the top. So I'm actually putting over the top of this white, the sort of bluey white. So this is lighter, so this is obviously goes over the top, which creates another layer, which looks more realistic if you've got all these different layers one on top of the other, and just by blending bit by bit. think I'll add a little bit more white, just a little bit more dramatic, just sort of coming down here over to this bit. And again, I won't go over the whole, the whole amount, because I don't want to ruin the whole thing. I think it's nice, and I think you can have a little bit more white down there. This part here. And that'll do. So I'll go back into my blender brush. Get my blender brush here, and just squeeze the blender brush. And again, I'm just going to do the same movements. I'm getting a lot of hairs coming out of this cheap brush. Oh dear. Not to worry. That's what you get when you get with these cheap brushes. Again, just dab. Little tapping movements, very soft, fluffy clouds. Round and round. Get the hairs off. Okay, so I'm happy with that. It looks pretty good, yep. And I'm gonna, as a final thing, once I've done that, very lightly, I'm just gonna go from one side just across, and again this just sets the clouds back and just moves all the harsh brush lines out. So moving the brush lines out completely, like so. Great, so that gets our sky done, guys. So yeah, so hopefully you found that quite easy to do. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to actually put down round here some dark hills just across here, and then we've got a little bit of foliage, some trees and so on to put down there. So I'm going to just add a little bit of dark in just along here. So I'm going to use just again a little flat brush, just to touch the thinners. And again, I'm going to go into some of this dark, put a little bit of white with it, adds body. When you add white with it, it adds a little bit of body. And I'm just going to come along here. It sort of comes down to about this area here, I believe. Yeah. So it's like this. So I'm just going to literally just go around the side of this. And we'll add a bit more black into that, just to darken it up. And then what I'm going to do is, at the top, I'm just going to flick up and down. Literally, I'm just up here, I'm just going to literally flick up and down, so it gives along this top here illusion there's like sort of foliage. Alright, just up here, I'm just going to run this along like that. Fill this in down to about there, down there, and then I'm just literally going to flick up just very lightly, very, very softly, like so. And then what I'm going to use is my blender again, and I'm just going to go over this a few times because I want this to set back like so. So it sort of like blends into the distance. It's dark, but it blends into the distance. And I'm going to go with the other side. You're just going to put a little bit on the other side, from about the same sort of height. I mean, they're sort of like hills in a distance. You can't really see. So they sort of come along here, and then we've got some trees and that. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this dark down here. Okay, we don't need to worry too much about there because we've got some foliage going on. So I'll just stick it in there so you can sort of see the line that we're sort of going to be following. And again, you can just flick up, it doesn't matter, and then get the brush backwards and forwards. I just want this to blend softly into the sky. And again, this is a little bit harsh, but it is like that on the actual photograph itself. It's probably a little bit blue. I don't know what colour it's picking up on the video, but hopefully it's picking it up the same colour again. And I'm just going to tap downwards with the bristles, just tapping down, which is going to give the illusion there's like bits and pieces and things going on in the distance. And again, then I'm going to use my blender again just to fade this out. Good, I like that. Yeah. Okay, now we've got some trees here, and then we've got some trees over here. So what we're going to do is, because all this land is going to sort of a greeny sort of colour, I'm going to mix up sort of the colours for it really, the dark. So I'm just going to go into a little bit of thinners. I've got some white and we're going to want some dark, so I'll just put it in there, put it on top of the blue, it doesn't matter. And I've got a little bit of sap green and a little bit of black. On this dark, sort of dark green, I had a little bit more thinners. I want it sort of darky, muddy colour. I'm literally gonna just, from here we've got, it sort of goes up to around this area here. So literally I'm just, yeah, it's not dark enough, not green. So I'm going to go into some more green and black. So it's a dark. That's better. I want a dark. So basically I'm just going to put this on down here, so it sort of comes along, it's along this area here. And I'm just going to literally tap just with this brush for a minute. I'm going to change brushes in a second. I'm literally just going to tap some different sort of shapes here and there. Just moving the brush backwards and forwards. Again, you can't really make out too much detail of what is happening at the moment, but down here I'm just going to run this along down there and just let it fade out for a minute. And on this side we've got a few over there. I'm going to use the same colour, and literally I'm just going to again tap. They come up to about this height, a few little bits and pieces, bubbles and that I call them. I'll put some of this mix in there. Okay, tap. It comes up to about there with these little, I don't know whether they're like trees or a bit of foliage, something like that. And then I'm going to change my brush to, I've got a little hard brush here, oval brush, or round brush, sorry. And I've just got a little bit of thinners, and then I'm going to go into this mix. And I had probably just a touch of this yellow in there. And I'm just going to tap this, and then I'm just going to tap over the top, just to create a little bit of foliage, but soft, sort of foliagey, bristly, stipply effect, like so. Just so you get the idea here that this is trees, foliage. Again, it's pretty dark, but I'll add some more black in at the moment. I just want to put some of this around the outside, just so you get a nice bushes and so on. I'm just tapping there. Again, this is just a, I think this is just one of those pound brushes. And then here I'm just gonna, just the top, just tap quite hard and tap along, and then I use my brush just to brush out the bottom part, and I'll just pull this down and across like so. And this side I'm just going to pull this into the colour and just pull it down for a second. A few lines like that. Now, you can't really see too much of the twigs and branches, but I'll get a thin liner brush, go into a little bit of a thinner, I'll go into some black, spin it around, and just here and there, just at the bases and that, we'll just put a few little lines and dots inside of this and a few little bits and pieces. This side as well, just in the middle of these bits and pieces, just at the bases. I'll call them bits and pieces. Basically they're just dots, little dots. We get a few little lines coming up here and there, but what happens is it adds interest to the picture with these little bits and pieces that are going on. And then a little trick is to wipe the brush, go into the little bit of the light colour, which was a light blue, something like that. Now in between this foliage, if you just add a few little dots, of the blue, come into this bluey colour, light blue colour, spin it around, and just here and there, just do a few little dots, and it will look like the illusion is that you've got light shining through. So again, it's just a couple, literally a couple of lights. Again, it all adds to the effect. So that's that part done. I think what we do, guys, is I think we'll stop there and we'll call it end of part 1, and hopefully you've been joining along and having a good time. So I'll see you next time, guys, for part 2, where we're going to put in the cabin and obviously the land down here. So with that said, it's Mark with Paint with Mark. Please subscribe, like and share this video, and I'll see you on part 2.